Hey peeps! So, since some of you have asked me to teach you on how to edit in Lightroom, well here you go. Now I'm going to show you the basics. I usually use Adobe Lightroom on desktop, but for basic edits, I think the mobile version offers quite enough features as well. You can download it on Google Play or App Store for free. Now, I have this photo taken in, I think, Kyoto last year. It's in Kiyomizu Temple. And as you can see, it needs a lot of fixing. Let's get started. So first, we control the light. Turn up the exposure just enough. Normal photos usually just require somewhere under 1.0, sometimes even under 0.5. Okay, before we go further, keep in mind that if we push these controls towards the left, it will make something darker, and pulling it to the right will lighten it. So usually I turn down the highlights to reveal the burnt out areas such as the sky here, and yeah, I think that should be enough. And let's add a little bit more of contrast to make our picture pop. And instead, I lift up the shadows. This is because I want the details of the photos to show. So, turn on the highlights and lift up the shadows. Now the black and whites. These two are powerful tools to control the contrast of your photo. So, I would turn up the whites, and as you can see, the white areas will get brighter, and if I pull the blacks to the left, it will increase the blackness of some of the shadows, let's say in the bushes and my shirt, my back. Now let's get on to the curves, specifically the RGB curve, so we do it all together. Usually I put 3 points. Remember that the upper parts are for highlights and the lower parts are for shadows. And the dot in the middle is to hold your overall exposure. You can move it to increase and decrease the brightness of your picture, but usually I use it to hold the brightness. So what I usually do is to pull down the shadows and pull up the highlights a little bit. But since in this case it's a little bit overexposed, so probably not too much. You can play around a little bit to see what suits you, and it's case by case basis. There's no specific setting that will suit every other pictures out there. But the most common one is doing the S curve. So you can add more points to hold certain parts. Okay, if you mess up, you just press undo, like I did. Oops. Okay. Oops. Yeah. Okay. Okay, now we're done with the lights. Let's get on to the color section. I want to increase the temperature to boost that warm feeling and you get that vintagey vibes. Also, I'm gonna increase the tint to purple-ish just a little bit. Now this is what I usually do. I turn down the saturation, just pull it to the left, but increase the vibrance. Yeah, it usually does wonders. To even out the effects, you have to do it like balance both vibrance and the saturation the way you want it. Now tap the mix button on the upper right corner. We're going to play with the colors individually. So you see that sign there, the red sign. I want to change the hue to somewhat orange as color, and I increase the saturation as well so that it pops and I achieve the color that I want it to be. So we're gonna do that for every other colors. So you just play around with the colors and see what you prefer. But for oranges, usually it detects my skin tone. So if I want my skin to be brighter and yeah, if I want it to look lighter basically, I increase the luminance. It usually works up to a certain point, so you have to be careful to play with it. But in this case, since I'm like small there and my face are all shadow-ish, yeah, I can't really do the luminance thing on my face. But yeah, for the rest of the colors, for example, I'm doing green right now. I want it to be, the kind of trend in Instagram right now is that you turn down the saturation so that it's very dull looking, but it looks cool. Like it has that aesthetic vibe of leaves by turning down saturation and make it darker by turning down luminance as well. As for the blues, there's not many blues, so and aqua as well. Yeah, not much to change, so let's just let it be. I'm just trying things out if Lightroom detects anything from the picture. Yeah, I don't think there's anything for purple as well. This is magenta. Yeah, nothing. Okay. Now let's fix it a little bit more. Add more sharpness, and you can enable the lens corrections. Sometimes it creates much difference, but in this picture, no. So you check again the lights, colors, you play with it, adjust it according to what you've done before. See what's missing, see what's off. Yeah, I ended up turning down the highlights of the curves because yeah, I want the details to really come out. I want to increase the clarity as well so that it pops out a little bit more. And now the thing with the hairs is if you increase it, sometimes it works for very burnt out photos, and if you decrease it, it creates that pastel-ish feeling. But yeah, you gotta be careful to not do it too much. Now let's add a little bit of texture with grains, just slightly. Okay, we're almost done. Time for final touches. So I'm gonna tell you this. When I was still getting the hang of this, I always wondered, how the hell do I change the whole color vibe of a picture? In Lightroom Desktop, there's this feature called camera calibration, which isn't here, so I'm going to substitute it with split toning. What it does is that it gives the color mask of your choice to the highlights and shadows. So I'm just gonna pick a color for the highlights. I want something like, let me try. So you can play around with the colors first and set the saturation later. Okay. I want something orangey. Now once you get the hue number, it's really important to decrease the saturation. With split toning, you just don't go overboard. Just go below saturation of 20. Or else, see, if it's too much, your whole picture would be like just orange, or yeah, and that's like the only color that will occupy our photo. And so I set the shadows at hue 38, I guess. Yeah, around that place. And then you balance it out, whether you want more color in the highlights or more color in the shadows. So for example, you set different colors in the highlights and the shadows. You can balance it out accordingly. And we're done. Let's see the before after. You just hold your screen and we'll bring you back to the original photo. So you see, don't I look like I'm in a post-World War era? Alright then peeps, thank you for watching. I hope this is helpful. It can step up your editing game. Stay tuned for more from midgetfidgets.com.